Good morning, everyone, and welcome into the 6th edition of LFP Live. My name is Connor. In the middle, we've got Brian. On the right, we've got Elliot. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. Fellas, how are we doing?
You know, I worked last night until midnight, but I honestly think that shift took less out of me than watching 2 periods of that Jets game yesterday. So,
Yep.
take that what you will, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. But Elliot, how are you doing?
We're awake. That's what we're gonna go with.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Can't say the same about the Jets.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's what I was
we're
gonna
on to
say.
Washington.
Other than the hockey team, I'm awake. We're good.
Yeah.
Little in shambles, but
Well, that's what we got to talk about this morning. So this is gonna be a fun show. As you can see on the far
mood
right
is
there,
low.
yeah. As you can see on the far right, we've got our kind of schedule that we're gonna roll through. The loss to the Devils and the loss to the Islanders, I think we can kind of group into one big discussion. Because if I'm being honest, that was the same game. Both games were the exact same. The Jets just looked even worse against the Islanders. But let's start with that game yesterday, the Islanders game. And if there's anything you saw that leaked over from the Devils game, Jets gave up 3 power play goals in the Devils game. But the Islanders game, the shots were 21-3 at one point. I think it was 29-5 as well, the shots. And the Islanders obviously were up 5-1, 6-1. So, Brian, what did you see from the jump in that game yesterday on Long Island?
That may have been the most concerned I've been about this team probably this season, because I said this in our group chat that we have, where so you come out on Tuesday and you have, I would say, arguably the best game of the season. You beat the Rangers.
One of.
And then you go into Jersey and you absolutely just blow it entirely. Like it's just a terrible game. Then Brendan Dillon comes out, calls the team out fairly aggressively, drops an F-bomb on live TV. And then they come out that flat.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like when you have such an emotional high of beating a top 3 team in the league, I think after last night, the Rangers are now number 1.
yeah.
And then you come out the next 2 games looking like a team that's never, even been on that level. Like I that's concerning to me. Like where's the effort there? Like it's not like there was some, a couple big injuries or something in the, in the Rangers game that you've got less guys coming in. You've got a full, squad of dudes who's they just weren't there.
Yeah. And honestly, the Devils game for me, I feel like this happens all the time, especially in like the NFL. This happens where a team will come off in professional sports. It happens. It just does. A team will come off this super emotional, like one of the best wins of the season type of games in MSG, Mark Scheifele hat trick, like unbelievable game. And then their next game, no matter who it's against, they'll come out flat. They'll lay an egg. Fine. The Devils game, the Devils looked like the prime Devils from last season. Like they looked fantastic. Timo Meier was making things happen. Jack Hughes and Luke Hughes were dancing. So be it. But then, like you said, Brian, the issue for me is the post game, Brendan Dillon kind of calls out the fact that they gave up 3 power play goals and that effort was unacceptable. And then the response to that is the issue for me. So the Devils game really okay, emotional high, emotional low. Fine. That happens in professional sports. But then the response, I texted in our chat, they were down 3-1 after the first, but everyone knew it was a terrible period. 3-1, that is a terrible period, but it was even worse than that based off shots and everything. And I texted in our chat, I'm going to be interested to see the response here. The Jets gave up the next 3 goals. So the response after the Devils game and then after a terrible start in the Islanders game were both massive failures on the Jets' part. And now here we are again, presumably saying, well, I can't wait to see the response today against Washington, because that's another team fighting for their playoff lives that the Jets just beat a week and a half ago pretty handily. So
they just beat the Canes the other night in an absolute wild game.
Yeah, 7-6. But Elliot, your thoughts on yesterday's snooze fest?
Here's the best example I have. It's that friend who you text in the group chat and they never answer, and they answer the text this time. Is the Rangers game saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm free. I'm going to come out and hang out." And then the next two games are you keep texting them back to figure out if they're still coming out and they're not, and they just never respond. So like that's literally what it is. The Jets woke up against the Rangers. They showed their full potential as a team. Well, at least the first line showed potential about who they are. And then they just decided that, okay, season's over. We beat the Rangers. Like what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Season's complete. We've beaten the Rangers. We don't have to worry about anybody else this year. We're just going to roll right into the playoffs with a bunch of losses to bad teams. Like, what are we doing?
And like, the thing is, like, again, after the Sunday game against Columbus, where they blew out the Blue Jackets, and then the game before that, they blew out the Ducks. Like, it was bad teams, whatever. They still blew them out. Everyone in the post game was talking about how excited they were for that Rangers game. We're so hyped up. Like, this is a big game. It's a big test for us. Makes sense that they came out flying and had a great game. And then again, emotional highs, emotional lows in professional sports. You see it all the time. I think that was a classic example of it. And I don't know if the back-to-back off of yesterday's game is a good thing. Like, would you rather them play again today, right away, or would you rather them have like 2-3 days off? I don't know.
This team, I would rather them play right away. They've been better just playing right away.
Like, just flush it. And,
don't give them a chance to think about it.
No, this team can't, and especially thinking about with this being similar teams essentially like than other years, this team has not done well when they've had to sit on stuff. They've not been great. And having been in locker rooms with high profile teams too, I don't like me personally too. I'd rather have to play like in a couple hours, or like if I always lost to a bad team, I wanted to play right away again. I don't like to stew on it because then you think about it and then you get in your head. So
yeah,
the
Isles are a good team, and like they played one of their better games of the season. Like, nothing to take away from them, but we know the Jets can put up a better fight than that. And yeah, I guess we should talk about this as well. Great point from Matt. The final goal of the game, I tweeted out the most like meaningful goal ever. Cole Perfetti with like a seeing eye shot from the point. A really nice play from him. He like entered the zone, tried to make a few plays, won the puck back, and then it was kind of a lucky goal. He just flung it from the blue line and threw a screen. But again, Cole Perfetti, he hasn't been in the game or in the lineup the last 3 games before this one. I believe it was 3. It might have been longer than that even.
Yeah.
But definitely on the road trip, he hadn't been in a game. Gets into a game, scores a goal. Brian, what do you think that could do for Perfetti? And I don't think like we might hit the line rushes here. Actually, no, that might be a little early, but I don't know if he's going to play today.
They've already posted the graphic and they've said that he's playing. It looks like they're running back the exact same.
Those are projected because yesterday they also had the same lines without Perfetti in. Like the lines that they posted didn't have Perfetti in. So those lines are taken with a grain of salt. But
True.
What, Brian, your thoughts on Perfetti scoring and what that can do for him, and if he's in the lineup today, how he can follow it up?
I truly think that you might just see a little bit more jump in his step. Like, I'm not anticipating him coming out and going on like a 5-game goal streak, but we also have to consider like the mental weight that's going to take off of him, because even when he's been playing, it's not like he's not creating something. Like, it always feels like he's like around the net, he's almost scoring. But how many posts has he hit? How many times has he got close to a puck that's been sitting near the crease that he hasn't been able to bury? I truly think that at the very least, you'll see him more comfortable playing his game.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because I think where he was starting to suffer a little is when he was trying to alter what made him good just so he could try and find a way to stay in the lineup, stay on top of his game, stuff like that. I really think that that fourth line, like beforehand, when it was Baron, Nemestikov, Perfetti, that was a legitimately hard-working line that was producing chances that they just weren't getting into the net.
Yeah.
And I think that going forward, that could be something that could benefit the Jets greatly, especially if there is some struggles up top, like we've seen the last couple of games. Which at some point or another, I want to talk about this, but I don't think it's natural right now. When the lines were shuffled, Toffoli was not on the top two lines.
Right. He was with Lowry and Niederreiter, was it? Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll get to that. But I'm curious to hear what Elliot has to think about the importance of Perfetti.
Well, I mean, as Matt's just said as well, Mitchell Clinton's come out and said that the lines are the exact same, except the one thing that Matt
changes,
no lineup changes. Well, apparently Scott Arniel is keeping whoever they're playing in goal tonight quiet to warm up, which at this point
it's Hellebuyck.
You think
if
so?
If they're keeping it quiet, I think it's Hellebuyck.
It's Hellebuyck. And also, let's be real.
See, I would ride the hot hand right now.
Time, that Hellebuyck after getting pulled is like a
he's
man.
He's gonna want to go right back. He's gonna want to. He's gonna want it right back.
He kicked down Arniel's hotel door last night, being like, "You're gonna put me in the net."
Yeah, honestly,
that's probably why it's quiet.
Yeah.
He's trying to sleep.
Didn't sleep too great. Yeah. No, honestly, I think they go right back to Hellebuyck today for that reason. He doesn't get pulled very often. Like I said earlier, would you rather the Jets play right away or have a few days off? Having them play right away, I think leaves the door open for Hellebuyck to just go right back at it. So throw in the chat who you think they're going to start today, because they're keeping it quiet until warm up and we won't know on the show. So throw it in the chat. But I think it's going to be Hellebuyck. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if they went with Brossoit. But yeah, Elliot, go ahead.
Brossoit's the hot hand. But yes, you also have a Vezina winning and nominated goaltender as well. So either way, other than that whole discussion, I think Perfetti scoring is good. It should be good for his confidence. As much as I was trying to look at his facial expression after he scored, he still looked as like monotone as ever.
I mean, let's be real. There was a whole thing about like the Jets put out the fact that he doesn't smile.
No, I know, but I thought at least after 23 games of not scoring, you'd at least get a little bit of a smirk. But you get nothing.
If they scored like,
don't push it.
I think if they scored like a 3-2 OT winner in the playoffs, you would just slight fist bump. Very monotone. I mean, I don't know. I think that's just who he is.
Yeah. Either way, I think it's good for his confidence. And I think it's good for the coaching staff to see that even in a game where they get smoked, there's at least some sort of positive that they can take away from it, even if it's one guy and a guy that they're trying to find a way to just get going. So if he can keep, I'm going to say if he can keep it up, I don't like the entire team didn't play well yesterday. So if he can turn that goal late into a couple good shifts to start today, I would say that he's probably on his way back to he's hit rock bottom. There's only up. So it's hard to say.
True. Yeah.
He can't really dig himself much of a deeper hole. So it's only up from here.
It is. And that's a good start. It's just getting on the score sheet and seeing a puck go in the net. It's like a basketball. I'll do the basketball reference. It's like a basketball. Yeah. It's like a basketball shooter, like Steph Curry just making a free throw and then he'll hit 4 straight threes because he gets rolling. Rebel, boots on the ground in DC, hoping for a Jets win over the Caps. Don't let me down. You love to see that.
Some background here. He lives and works in DC, but he was born in Michigan. He is a diehard Red Wings fan, and his Red Wings need the Jets' help because the Caps are surging. So he has become the biggest Jets fan today. So
fair enough.
Love it. Hey, well, the Jets didn't help them yesterday with the Islanders, so maybe they can help a little bit today.
Maybe.
Choice TK bringing up a great point here. Ehlers top line, Connor second needs to happen. It happened at the end of last game. I believe it was Ehlers, Scheifele, Appleton. Like the lines were just.
I think Arniel just put names into a hat
he said
in
after
between
the game,
periods and just threw them and was like, here's the lines.
Connor was with Monahan and Ehlers was with Scheifele. And that's the thing I find notable. I'd like to see them continue that today just for a new look because beside like the Rangers game, the top line stepped up, but last night they weren't good.
Which I do have something to say about that. And I meant to say this last episode. I owe someone a shout out. So if you've listened for a while, we've got Connor from New York, who listens. He's a big Rangers fan. He called it just because of how the Rangers were playing on their top line, that the Jets top line would have a positive metrics game against the Rangers, and then the Lowry line would have a negative one, and he was bang on.
There you go.
But my whole thing was we've seen enough of that first line with Connor Scheifele Iafallo that we know that a game like they had against the Rangers is the outlier.
Yeah.
And I don't trust
so
them to put together.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's weird. I don't trust them to put it together like consistently, which is why seeing there was a brief willingness there to split Connor and Scheifele, even if it was at the end of the game. That's I think what might need to happen. But also, Jeff, I think that Cole should change his goal song to just the glass shattering and Stone Cold's music, just because there's something about it. Like puck in the net, glass shatters, and then suddenly Cole Perfetti walks out in jean shorts and double knee braces.
Oh my, that would be a sight. Cole Perfetti's back in the lineup on the fourth line. There it is. That's funny.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the Perfetti thing. I mean, yeah, I think we've said all we've needed to say there. He needs to follow it up today. They're not making any lineup changes.
The team needs to.
So the team needs to rebound. Yeah.
Which I did see another thing. I think it was from Doug talking about Pionk.
God. I'll go back to that. Yeah,
it's been
we need to talk about that pairing.
A disaster class over the last couple games here.
Yeah,
like it hasn't been good for a while. Like, let's be real. Like, they're always the only negative pairing. Like, both the top pairing and the third pairing usually either break even or come out positively. They're always negative in the shots. They're always negative in chances. But the last two games, and especially yesterday, Pionk deserves to be in the press box, but he won't be, obviously.
No. Yeah, I mean, I said it a couple episodes ago. I feel like puck management is an issue for that line, and when it's an issue, or for that pairing, sorry, and when it's an issue for them, it's much more of an issue than it is for Morrissey and DeMello or Sandberg and Schmidt. Like Sandberg, I think, has the skating to make up for it, where if he makes a bad play, he can rectify it. He makes all those plays on 3-on-1 rushes. He breaks it all up and things like that. Pionk and Dylan, we're just giving up the front of the net way too easily. Like Pionk was getting boxed out in front. Every
rebound, chase guys around.
Every shot was screened. Yeah. And then there were a couple times where Dylan and Pionk were out there with Connor, Scheifele, whoever their third winger is, Iafallo or Nemesnikov. And they were just getting cycled. And the Islanders were just kind of toying with them. Like, just, we can have whatever we want right now. Hellebuyck would make like 4 great saves and then let in the 5th one. And the Jets would go down. It's like, well, what are we doing here? Like, and then they would have chances to get it out, and Kyle Connor wouldn't make the play along the wall, or Neil Pionk would turn the puck over behind the net, and then give up the front of the net being boxed out. So it's just a lot went wrong, and especially so for that pairing and the top line defensively. And a lot of people in chat here kind of ripping on Kyle Connor's defensive game, and you can't really blame them, because he had chances, and a lot of chances, to get pucks out at the blue line yesterday and just didn't. Like, his wall play in his own zone needs to improve, or they're going to be spending too much time playing defense. In the Rangers game, it was good, which is why they were playing offense so much, dominated the flow of play, scored a couple goals. He scored a gorgeous one in his feet, one-timer. Like, that's when he becomes an effective player. And yesterday was a perfect example of the opposite of that. But Elliot, your thoughts on that pairing, and I don't know, whatever I just rambled on.
The first line needs to, like, the way that I see it is, I don't have a problem with lines 2 through 4 essentially in the defensive zone. For the most part, they're responsible defensively. They're not going to make too many mistakes, and that's all right. When it comes to the first line, you have a guy in Kyle Connor who's notoriously not good in his own zone. Scheifele has shown potential in his own zone, but he isn't always great in his own zone. And then you have either Iafallo or Nemesnikov, who's one forward. He can't do it all himself. So of course he's going to overstretch to make plays, right? So my whole thing is that line, for them to be good, cannot spend like 50% of the time in the defensive zone. They need to be they need to be more of a positive in the offensive zone for them to be a good line. Like that, you can't have them be in their own zone for too long, because they're going to be a net negative line. They can't do that. They are not good enough defensively to do that. And so that's where the Jets get buried, is if they put their first line out and the first line gets hemmed in, you kind of just, at this point in the season especially, you kind of just have to book a goal. Like if it's 0-0 and the first line gets hemmed in for too long, you kind of just have to say, okay, it's 1-0 whoever. Right. Like, and I hate to say that, and I hate to rip, but I mean, if you guys have listened to the show, you guys know that, like, I've ripped on Kyle Connor not being able to win board battles. I've talked about Scheifele not being able to hold his own in the defensive end for games at times, because he's just kind of there, right? Like
last year. Yeah, like he's improved this year for sure.
100%.
Like, undoubtedly. But there are still games where he's off, like the Islanders game, for example. But another thing I think contributed to what you said about how they're spending too much time in the defensive end, and that can't contribute to their success. I think another thing, and during the Islanders game, again, nothing was working, but I feel like in the first period especially, this is what I was seeing. They would spend a good 30-40 seconds getting cycled in their own end, and then they would come down the ice. They'd have a rush chance, nothing would happen, and then the puck would be like behind the net or something, and Scheifele would have it on his stick, or Connor, or literally any offensive player on the Jets would have possession of the puck in the offensive zone. And then they would force a low percentage pass into the middle of the ice. The Islanders would steal it, and off they go, and the cycle would start again. And they would spend another minute in the offensive zone. Maybe they'd score a goal, because they scored a lot of them. And then they came back, and the Jets would come back. They'd get a rush chance. Nothing would happen off of it. The puck would be in the zone. And they would have a chance to like make a play and keep possession and start the cycle in their end, but they would just force a low percentage pass into the middle of the ice, and then off the Islanders went. I feel like that happened way too much. I don't know if I'm like over analyzing that, but I feel like they were spending too much time in the defensive zone, because when they got it in the offensive zone, they felt the need to make this like miraculous play, like Scheifele to Connor in the slot. And it's like, well, it's just not there. Hold it. Maybe give it to Josh Morrissey, let him cook, and like get a cycle going. The third line had a fantastic shift in the first period. They were just cycling it. Adam Lowry was hitting guys. They were working. They had their hard hats on and their work boots on, or whatever the expression is. Like they were dominating along the wall physically. And that was a shift. I was like, you got to keep the puck in their end, and you won't spend too much time playing defense. It feels so like elementary, but I don't know. I just feel like they were forcing way too many low percentage plays. And that's like, honestly, the number one thing I'm watching for today is if they can have sustained offensive zone time and not just force a pass into the slot. Oh, it bounced off a skate. Oh, that sucks. Elliot, go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say the greatest example is like, don't either try to like the Jets too much yesterday. We're trying to hit, like it was like they were down 4-0 in the baseball game in like the 7th inning. And instead of like just trying to hit the home run, you're trying to hit like 3 home runs in a row. Okay, well maybe get a walk in there, maybe hit
small
a single
ball, maybe.
This is small ball a little bit here, right? But that's how you snowball into the home run, right? That's how you get a rally going. Is you gotta get a walk, you gotta hit a single. Okay, maybe, or even like maybe you force a hit by pitch, right? Like. Then once you get them, force some mistakes. The Jets weren't doing that yesterday. It was kind of like, okay, we're going to try to go for the home run play here. Like like you said, they were trying to force low percentage chances. So it is what it is. And like they need to figure it out today, and they need to just get back to playing simple hockey. Like that again, if I'm Scott Arniel, that would be what I'm preaching today. Don't try anything crazy. Just move the puck and play simple, like north-south hockey.
And the last time they played the Capitals, they had the puck the entire game. Like no word of a lie. The Jets had the puck like literally the whole game. It was nuts. It was the 3-0 win inside Canada Life Center. The Capitals coach after the game had a quote saying they had the puck 75% of the game. Like the possession, it was just in the Capitals' end the whole time. Why? Because they weren't just throwing a puck from the point, unscreened shot, and then a faceoff would come up. No, they were cycling it. They were holding on to it. Another line would come on. The Lowry line would wear them down, and then the Scheifele line would hop over the boards and carry it forward. Like that's how the Jets sustain offensive zone time and how they're an elite team. And we've seen it, and we saw it in spurts against the Rangers. Like you're not going to get that against good teams. But what they did against the Rangers is they had moments where that was happening because the Rangers are good enough. They'll make plays. But honestly, I think that's the number one thing I'm watching for today is can they just sustain offensive zone time? Because they haven't done that in the last two games for an extended period of time. Brian, last word on this before we head to break. Go
ahead. This is a lot of what I was going to talk about, where essentially on a line like Connor Scheifele follow, it's forcing Kyle Connor to be more of a play driver, and he isn't. He operates better on a line where someone else is driving play and he's finding the soft areas. If he's the one having to make those soft areas, it's not going to work. That's why I'd be curious to see Tyler Toffoli up there because he's not going to necessarily blow by you and go, back and forth through the zone and, creating the spaces that way. He's going to create the space by commanding the respect of the other players on the ice because he's got a shot.
Yeah.
But that's going to just make it a little bit harder to, deal with that line coming in. Obviously, we know where I stand on Ehlers on the top line. His play style drives the play, and Connor does better at, those levels of, drop back in behind, get an open shot, get a little bit closer to the circles, not shooting it from the goal line all the time, even though it works occasionally.
Yeah.
He's good at that, but he needs to get into a different position where he's not the one having to bring the puck in. Because having someone else do that and let Connor find his own space helps him play his game. And obviously he's never been a good defensive player. I'm not expecting him to be, this incredible defensive. I just want him to not, absolutely just glide around when he's not the one, it's the thing, when he's not shooting, I'm not convinced he knows where he needs to be. Because he's the one trying to figure out where things are going. If you have someone else on that line who drives the play, then, you can probably take that a little bit off of that. So that's where I'm at on there.
Yeah. And the thing that the coaching staff says about Nikolai Ehlers when he's not going, excuse me, is they say, like Rick Bowness has said this in the past, we want him to hold on to the puck more because when Ehlers has the puck on his stick, that's when he's, driving play. And then Kyle Connor, like you said, is elite at finding those soft areas, not having the puck on his stick, finding the soft area in the slot or on the circle, and then being found by an elite passer like a Mark Scheifele, and scoring those goals, or a Nikolai Ehlers, also an elite passer. But I'm saying the Ehlers and Connor thing, I feel like is a natural fit there because Kyle Connor's elite off the puck, and a player that has a wicked release, and you get him the puck in a tight area. He's like nobody better in the league, honestly, at scoring goals in tight areas with awkward angles. He's in that tier of some of the elite scorers. That's why he's scored 40 plus, and was on pace to do so again this year. But he needs a guy on his line that can hold on to pucks more. And that's what the coaching staff likes out of Ehlers. That's what they want to see out of Ehlers. And when Ehlers got demoted, that's what they said. The reason was why he got demoted is because he wasn't holding on to enough pucks. So I think there's enough of a natural fit there, C-Mac. Basically, I'd like to see that line again today. They had that line as a thing a few weeks ago, before the Toffoli ad, I believe. But I'd like to see them go back to it and then have Toffoli and Monahan on that second line, kind of anchoring it down. Here we go. We've got breaking news on LFP Live, Winnipeg Chapter. No lineup changes. Hellebuck likely to start. So I posed that question in the chat earlier. We're going to go to break here. We're going to hear a word from DraftKings. Let us know in the chat while we're on break if you think rolling with Hellebuck again is the right idea. We'll be back after a word from DraftKings. Thank you to everyone who's here with us. Over 130 people live with us here on a Sunday morning. Love
and
to
like
see
spread
it.
out across all platforms. Like it's a fairly
Yeah.
even spread, which is incredible.
Yeah. If you're here on YouTube, head down, drop a like, hit the subscribe button. We're going to hear a word from DraftKings. We'll see you in a minute.
We know hockey games move fast, but with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers bet $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget Lake Charles. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024, all rights reserved.
Welcome back into the 6th edition of LFP Live. Thanks again for DraftKings for sponsoring this episode. Matt bringing up that Mike's guess is that Hellebuck starts. So we'll see. We'll wait for the official confirmation. We'll see who leads the team out.
Wouldn't shock me.
It would not shock me either. A lot of people saying yes to Helly. The defense hung him out to dry in Long Island. I think that's a great point.
Shane, you are our first Facebook comment.
There you go.
Shout
First
out
ever Facebook comment. Shout out Shane.
We started going live on Facebook last week, so
yeah.
First live chat in from Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook, feel free to join on in.
There we go. But I think Shane here brings up a great point. Like you could say to the team and use this as a rallying point, like, hey, you hung your Vezina trophy leading front runner goaltender out to dry.
Show him you care today.
Show him you care. Yeah. Show him, tell him you're sorry on the ice. There you go. Sammy Smokes, a commercial from DraftKings. Yes. DraftKings sponsoring every episode of the LFP. C-Mac, Helly being in is fine. We'll see how Arnie adjusts the lines. Jeff, for me, Helly's probably salivating at a chance of getting back in. I hope the realist of the team helps him out. I think he meant to say rest, or maybe he meant to say realist. The realist of the team helps him out, put him back in.
I mean, both work, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah. There we go. You see, yeah, he did correct it. So there we go. Anyways, is there anything else that you guys are watching for today? We brought up the fact they need more offensive zone time. Who's the goalie going to be? What are the lines going to look like? Is there anything else, any other players that you're looking at today? Elliot, I'll start with you.
Can I just say that I'm looking for some fight, at all? I mean, can I really just say that? Can I just say that they look like...
Will there be a fight, actually? I can see... I can... actually, maybe not. This is an Eastern Conference opponent. If it was if they were playing Vegas today, I could see
or a divisional opponent.
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Oh, well, hey, they're upcoming. We see 15 fights then via fight every 5 minutes.
Their upcoming homestand is Edmonton, Vegas, Ottawa, which is Hockey Night in Canada, I think. LA, and then Calgary. So that's
Montreal was in there too.
No, they've played Montreal every time.
Done.
I think, yeah. But no, 4 Western Conference almost playoff or 3 playoff teams, 1 almost playoff, and then another Canadian team. So I think there'll be a lot of fight in that 5-game homestand. But anyways, go ahead. You're looking for some fight.
I was just gonna say I'm hoping to see it really just felt like from the jump the Jets had no fight to begin the game. And I think the other thing too, as C-Mac brings it up, obviously Ovi's on a heater, but what I want to actually see from the Jets, I want to see some fight, and I want them to get back to I really want to hear Dan Robertson say that was a really nothing first period. That's when I know the Jets have played well.
Event hockey.
Low event. Yeah. Well, because you have a bad start yesterday, and it just snowballed. Yeah. You did not play your style of hockey. When the Jets have not played their low event style of hockey, they have lost games. They have absolutely been terrible when they have had more than, well, I can't say they've been terrible. They've had a couple games where they've had higher event periods and come out on top. But that's when they attack at their opponent, right? When they get attacked, they keel over, and that's the game. If they can stay either toe-to-toe or come at their opponent from the start, then they're fine. I have no issues with them. I would rather see a 6-5 shots first period and it's 0-0, because then that means the Jets have done their job and they're ready to play, right? So that's all I'm trying to see. Strong start and some fight with a low event period.
Yeah, and I think the blueprint was the Jets win against the Caps like a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Like low events, like they only won 3-0. It's not like they blew them out 6-1 like the Ducks, but they had the puck the whole game, and Washington never really had a chance. Like you never really felt threatened by what the Capitals were doing. Brian, is there anything else, any other players, any other storylines you're watching for today? The game is getting underway in under 2 hours now.
Yeah. The biggest thing for me is, I think, seeing how quickly Arneal is willing to shuffle things. Because I'll be honest, like if there's a slow start again, and by that I mean not what Elliot was saying, because slow starts for both teams benefits the Jets, I think. But slow starts for just the Jets, we've seen in the last couple games here. I think a slow start against a hot Caps team, I'm hoping that means that Arneal is, the leashes are short as it is going into this one, because they can't afford to, really lose too many here, because obviously Colorado has been insanely hot as of late. Dallas is Dallas. You can't lose ground in that central race right now, because I'd be worried about, falling back and, having to play one of Colorado or Dallas in the first round.
Yeah.
And at this point, with how they're playing, I am genuinely concerned about sort of where their head's at right now and what type of damage this type of game is going to do, because it's been, I don't want to sound so negative, but I'm like, the last 2 games it's been a while since I've seen back-to-back games with that little effort from this team. Like this team has been so, I mean, they've been fairly inconsistent. Like I feel like since their win streak actually ended, I guess that would have been in December or early January. Since then, it just doesn't feel like they can actually string together, 3 to 5 really good games in a row. It's usually a couple, 3 at most, and then they lose a couple, or they alternate wins and losses. Like I want to see them really just try and put together consistent efforts, win or lose, over this next stretch here. And just to bring it back here, I would be concerned about Alex Ovechkin, because historically when he's hot, he is even still the most dangerous shooter on the ice. And he scored again against the Hurricanes. I think he's got 6 goals in his last 4 games. So he's doing what he does best, and that's score in bunches.
I think he's got 23 points in his last 15 games or something. I don't know. I thought that's what I read. Unbelievable. Alexander Ovechkin doing it at this age. Just real quick, does he catch Gretzky? I think he's 46, 47 goals away. Something. He's in the late 40s somewhere.
I don't see why not.
What we have to consider here is it feels like Washington's sole purpose right now is just getting him to the record.
Did you see that Dylan Strome pass the other night?
Yeah.
Where Dylan Strome is literally one-on-one with the goaltender, and Ovechkin's being covered in the corner, and he passes it to him, and he scored. And I'm like, all they care about is getting him the record. But
so
I love it.
Well, it's not like they're going to get into a cup again. Like
right, yeah.
They have nothing else to play for.
They just want to be on the team with the guy that breaks this record. Matt saying Helly's so good because he stays calm. Yesterday he was visibly shook. I think LB should get the start and let Helly regroup. I think that line of thinking is there. Like I agree with that. I just think Hellebuck, I think he looked shook because he had 20 shots against him in the first 20 minutes. I think
anyone
yesterday there was a little chat there from Arneal and Hellebuck as he was going off, as he got pulled. I think Arneal was probably like, "Hey man, not your fault. Don't worry about it." Caps are slow, right in the Jets' wheelhouse. The Jets do really well against slow teams
because they're also slow.
What we've seen is they really struggle against fast teams. New York isn't even a fast team. The Islanders, that is. Like, I don't know. Whatever. The Rangers aren't really like, they don't have burners. But again, the Jets played their style and dominated that game. Sammy Smokes coming back with the brisket references. You love to see it. We just need to see the Jets. We saw them when they played the Rangers. Prime brisket, not your 2 a.m. Circle K mop bucket meat. 100% agree. That's what we need to see tonight.
Or Circle this K morning, mop bucket meat is one that I have never heard before. Yeah. That is.
I don't want to try it. I don't want to find out. I can tell you that. Shane saying, "You're exactly right with the play in the last 2 games. It makes you question how playoffs will go. Just play hard and at least make it a game, not a blowout." Yeah, just consistent efforts. I think that's for sure.
If the effort's there, something good's going to happen.
Yep, absolutely. And you won't see these 6-1. Well, I guess it ended 6-3, but everyone knows it wasn't that close. C-Mac, Ovi has 2 more years under contract. He will get the record. The question is, when he was 1 away, will they let him on the ice when there's an empty net? That's a great question.
They probably would.
It depends on how he's been playing. Like, I'll be real. If he's like dragging himself around the ice at the end there, trying to get that goal, I think they'll try and make it as easy as possible. Because in the end, years down the line, 895, whether it goes into an empty net or beats a goalie from his office, it's going to read the same on the stat sheet. It's just going to be a goal.
Yeah, 100%. And I think he already has the record for all-time empty net goals, if I'm not mistaken. He passed Gretzky this year, I believe. It's something like 40-something.
Yeah.
Now everyone in chat's talking about the Circle K mop bucket meat. We're going off the rails. Off the rail. Yeah.
And it's not us this time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That has totally taken me.
All right. We're going to open up the questions portion now. We're nearing the 45-minute mark. We've got over 150 people here in chat with us. Thank you to everyone who's here with us live. Sunday morning, the 6th edition of LFP Live. This is the time where we're going to open up the questions. Drop your questions below. Can be Jets related, could be brisket related, could be Circle K mop bucket meat related. We're going to answer it. Let's go. This is my favorite part of every Sunday is taking questions from you guys. So let's do it. Here, hold on. I'm trying to make sure these are questions coming in here. What does this team coaching staff look like next year if the team continues to struggle and has a poor playoff showing? That is a great question. Do either of you want to take that one? Go on ahead.
I can answer it if you want, Brian.
Go ahead.
You go ahead. Go first.
I was going to start. I truly think it's less. I think it's less performance based and more so I'm concerned about sort of where we're at with Rick Bonus's, life off the ice, right? Like, as we know, like you can't have this, career forever. And obviously he spent a lot more time with his family this year. Everything that happened with his wife. And then obviously now with him having to return to Winnipeg for a minor procedure, I think there might be a different look on that bench purely because I think there's a consideration. I have no basis to actually, put this on. This is my assumption is that there's at least a consideration for him to say, you know what, I think it's time, to step away. Maybe the Jets bring him into like an advisory role where he doesn't have to be with the team all the time because you can tell that there's a level of, dedication there that I know that they really want to, do right by him and him the same for the team. I think that you might, regardless, just get a different looking staff, maybe with Arneal at the helm next year, just based on that. So,
yeah,
I think it's something to watch.
I hope
for sure. I think Arneal's the guy. He stepped in. He's done great. I think they're kind of bringing him along to be the next head coach. And yeah, all the reasons you brought up. I believe Rick Bonus's contract is up after this year, but he has the option to extend it one more year. That came out in a presser. He said he had the ability to stay another year if he wanted to. But we will see all the reasons. Elliot, what do you have to say about the team coaching staff? Like, there's a lot of variables at play here on what could look different next year.
So realistically, the only thing I think that really changes with the team is who they can bring back, which I think depends on money and how much guys are asking for. Obviously, there was, I can't remember who it was. Somebody had put a post out about what guys were potentially going to be looking for just based off of analytics and numbers and stuff. And obviously the Jets aren't going to be able to bring everybody back. Like, it's just not going to be possible. So realistically, I think it's just the Jets making a couple decisions about A, who do they want to bring back, and B, who also can slot into the lineup, right?
Yeah.
Like that's where it is for me, at least with the team. The team's not going to change very much. Like, this is the team that the Jets are riding with at least for the next couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Until most guys' deals are up. So the team isn't really going to change. I think what Brian said is the only real big change could be the coaching staff, which at the end of the day, if it's Scott or Neil as the next coach, then I'd like to say, is there really going to be that much of a change? But he does play a little bit of a different style than Bonus, but he's in that same category, right? So I don't think there's really much, but
on what could look different. Nikolai Ehlers is a rental next year. And as the guy who's always getting demoted, he might not want to resign here. And that's the kind of moving Nikolai Ehlers in his prime, that you would have to do in the offseason, not at the deadline. So that's a real possibility. He's extension eligible this offseason, so they can extend him right away, or they can go meet with his agent. He goes, no, I don't want to play here, and they'll have to move him. Because again, you don't trade an Ehlers at the deadline. You trade him in the offseason to a team that will give him an extension. Like, that's the thought process there. So just throwing that out there as something could be different about this team next year is the fact that Ehlers is a pending UFA. I think they bring back Monahan. I think they've really liked what he's done. Same with Toffoli, but Toffoli's
the cheaper option.
Cheaper option. He can be a center option, and they have wingers coming up. Maybe Monahan's like on a 2-year deal, and Lambert, like, theoretically, everything goes according to plan. Lambert is going after that.
Everything going according to plan with Jets prospects.
Right,
oh God, I don't know if I can bank on that. I'd never bet on that in my life.
You never know. Winnipeg Chapter, what is the optimal lines and D pairs with the Jets keeping the same lineup from yesterday? I think I'll let you go ahead first on this one, Brian. The D pairings, I think there's not much you can really. I guess taking Pionk out and putting in a Miller. But up front, decor, what do you think is the best things they can do lines wise?
The biggest thing for me is making that move to bring Ehlers up into the IFL position. And I think that for me, that's really the only move that makes sense based on what they've done in the past. Optimally, I would think that obviously I think Iafallo then would be on that wing on the second line.
Yeah.
I think that in terms of allowing things to just kind of work, that might be the way to go. I would be on board with, putting Pionk up in the press box and bringing in a Colin Miller to play with Dylan, just to see what happens in that top 4 role. But no, the biggest thing for me is getting Ehlers up onto that top line, Iafallo down, let that play driving take hold, and just give it a couple games. Like, it feels like you only give it, like, they give it like 4 periods and then they always move away from it. And it's very frustrating because usually in those periods they win their minutes.
Yeah. And real quick on, like, I just thought of this while you were outlining the lines there. I feel like with the Connor, Scheifele, Iafallo, or Nemesnikov, or whoever's on their wing, ever since they acquired Foley, they've been doing that lineup and being like, okay, this is our playoff game 1 lineup, and Velarde will be on the top line. And then Iafallo or Nemesnikov will move down. And they're just keeping it the same so that the other lines can generate chemistry and familiarity. And Ehlers, Monahan, to Foley, like, those are 2 new players. I think that's what their thought process has been. Like, this is our game one lineup. Velarde will go there. Boom, done. I think now, given the last 2 games, they might have to go away from that and be like, well, we got to win some games now. So screw our game one lineup. We'll figure that out down the stretch here. But they need to start winning games now, or else they're going to finish as the 3 seed in the Central. It's a real possibility at this point. Is Elliot taking the same program as Brian and I? Yes, we are all communications and media students at CMU, all in year 4, I believe. So having a blast, living the dream. CMAC, of Monahan and Toffoli, which is the priority to re-sign? I would like to see Toffoli, but I think for the Jets, the priority is Monahan.
Yeah.
You guys agree? Just a center, he'll be cheaper. Like Rutgers coming in these next year or 2, maybe if he stays at Michigan. But I think if you sign Toffoli to a 5-year, $6 million deal or whatever the price tag might be, you're kind of log jamming. I mean, again, maybe they move Ehlers, but
hey, they're really good at log jamming. They did it with the defense core.
They did it with the defense. There was a question about Hanele here. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. The D Corp is an issue, needs restructured. Guessing Morrissey, Sandberg, and DeMello are back, and team would like to move Schmidt and Pionk if possible. Where do Hanel and Salamonson fit? I don't know if the Jets are going to be able to move the final year of Schmidt's contract, but that would free up a lot of flexibility for them to re-sign players. So I think they'll try maybe attach a draft pick, or like the Brian Little deal, attach a prospect to the contract and get Arizona or whoever is bad, or Chicago needs to hit the cap floor. We try and move the last year of that deal. We'll see. But that's something to watch for as well. Doug asking, do they try and move Schmidt before the draft to free up cap space?
I definitely think they try to.
They need to. Well. I don't think it's a like, if they want to make sure that they can make sure that this team is good. Schmidt, as much as I think Schmidt's been great as a third pair option, he needs to go. He has hit his expiry date, I think, in Winnipeg, and they need to move him so that they can bring back DeMello. I'd preferably kind of want to move on from Dylan as well, as much as he's had a better year.
He's been great, but I think
he also might need to move on.
Well, he won't take a 1-year deal. That's the thing. Like, and you can't sign a Brendan Dillon to anything more than 1 with what you've got coming up.
Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm at. It's like he's had a better year than some of his other years here, and I just don't think that the Jets will want to do anything, like you said, Brian, more than 1. And so I think plus apparently, like we've heard and what Dylan has said publicly, like the Jets haven't even like contacted his agent for
I think he's
get re-signed.
I also think from the agent's perspective, I think they know that he's a veteran, like physical, big defenseman, and those are coveted in the league. And he'll get
elsewhere.
He'll get paid. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's where they're kind of at on that. Matt saying maybe they try Nino on the second line. I doubt it, but I'd like to see it. I also doubt it, but again, I would like to see it as well. If they're doing a big line jumbo, I wouldn't mind that. Does this team need a big shakeup? Do you go after someone like Trevor Zegras in the offseason? I mean, a big shakeup, I'd say no. I think the core pieces are in place. Morrissey, Hellebuck, Scheifele for the next however many years. Elliot?
The only way, and we just talked about this, Connor, you brought it up. I think the only way they do a big shakeup is if Nikolai Ehlers goes, and it's an Ehlers plus draft pick prospect for another big swing. That is the only way I think they go big this offseason, is if somebody else goes, right? So other than that, I don't think, like CMAC says a young top 4 D, but I don't think it's a D if they trade Ehlers. Like they'd want a forward back because they're trading,
or Ehlers. They would trade Ehlers, keep to Foley.
Something
like, and then
something like that. Yeah,
like, I don't know. Yeah, that's going to be a big offseason topic, and maybe at the end of it, because we talked so much about Scheifele and Hellebuck, and then they just signed them, we might just be like, oh, Ehlers, you might not want to stay, signed. But we'll see.
Hope so.
I want to bring up this comment from CMAC because Brad Lambert is killing it in the AHL, absolutely having a dynamite year. And Murat
gets a look in camp.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Murat Atesh, friend of the pod, been on here a couple times. he was on Winnipeg Sports Talk basically saying for Brad Lambert, this has been like a great year for his development in the sense where he's the guy on that team. And they started out okay, and he was doing okay. And then the team lost like 400 games in a row. And he had to go through that adversity as being the guy on a team that was like terrible, like not winning many games, whether it was goaltending, defense.
Well, they'd be winning
whatever.
every single one of those games and then would lose. Like they'd be up like 3-0 at the end of 2 and then lose 5-3.
And now they've like grown from that as a team, and they're in the playoffs now. Like they're rolling. I think they've won 10 of their last 11.
And he's
11
half the reason
12.
why.
Like, and he's a huge reason why.
That
like
top line is insanely good.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the Brad Lambert era in Winnipeg. And it looks like it's going to happen because he's been awesome. Yes, Jeff, precisely a 400 game losing streak.
Felt like it.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it for questions, unless I missed one.
There's one here that just also about contract talk that I kind of want to talk about.
Okay, go for it.
It came up in
This
that
one?
same It came up in that same
Perfetti's
post that people were talking about numbers and stuff. And obviously Perfetti got 2 different numbers. I think with the way that this season is gone and how they've treated Perfetti, there is no way that they sign him to a long-term deal. I think it's a bridge, prove it contract.
Yeah. I also don't think from Perfetti's perspective, there's any reason for him to go long-term.
No.
Like he's kind of just taking less value. He should bridge and then just we
ball
know
out and ball out and then get your money's worth. But I don't know. I wanted to touch on that because I think that's a big thing. Because if the Jets go long term, they got to throw out a bigger dollar amount. And I think with them trying to win, I think the bridge also makes sense for the Jets' perspective because then they can reset in 2 years when a bunch of other guys' contracts are up. Then they can pay Perfetti. That also may be their pitch is, hey, we want to get you on a bridge so that we can keep competing for the time being. And then we can do a reset in 2 years. You can get paid and we can make sure that you are still on a good team with the rest of the prospects coming up.
Absolutely. And I think they're hoping he can be a top 6 guy or like return to being a top 6 guy next year. From Perfetti's perspective, I think the smartest thing to do is bridge, have another offseason where you're getting stronger, getting faster, come back next year and play the way you did in the first half of the year. We know he's in a slump right now. We still know he's a talented player, but I think it makes sense from both sides. Like you said, Elliot, keep the dollar number lower. And from Perfetti's perspective, just getting faster and stronger, developing and putting up like a monster year next year. That might happen. Brian, what do you think? Oh, Brian, can you hear him, Elliot, or no?
No, I couldn't.
Well, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
My mic, the cord dropped out of my mic just from gravity itself. Wow.
I thought it was my headphones or something, but no. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it was you, Connor. No, I mean the bridge just seems like so logical for everyone involved there because I mean, I am convinced that another shot in the top 6 with a different line because he had the same, like he was really, really good with certain guys early on. He was scoring at like a 30 goal pace. Yeah. Then he was stapled to the same line for a while that clearly was not producing, then dropped to the 4th and then dropped to the press box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I truly think that a bridge with him in that top 6 will prove either he is worthy of signing long term for both himself. It'll prove to him that the Jets are willing to play him in the top 6, or if he struggles, then it's a bridge deal. And then they can reconsider things after the end of like 2-3 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll see.
I think, you're going to see a bridge. What that number's at and what they brought up here, similar to Velarde. I think his number's 3.425, 3.4 and a quarter. So I think you'll see around the same, like 2 to 3, like 2.5 to 3.5, somewhere in that range for Perfetti. I think is the way that it's going to go. Jeff, man, if they trade Ehlers, I hope the team that gets him doesn't fail him. I brought this up to Jacob Stoller. Me and him go to the Jets games together up in the press box there. And I said, Seattle feels like the team that would trade for Ehlers, give up big assets, extend him for 8 years, and immediately plop him on the top line and just watch him be a 90-point player. It just feels so right to see him in a Seattle jersey, just with Matty Beniers just cooking. I don't know. If that is the discussion this year, the team I want to throw out right now as the team I think they're big on analytics. Seattle, they always have been. We know Ehlers' analytics are fantastic. I don't know. I think I think there's a natural fit there. But that's going to do it from us, I believe. We just always at the end of the show, we surpass another big milestone. 200 people across all platforms here with us live on a Sunday morning for a little bit of a pregame show. The game is in an hour and a half. Everyone enjoy the game. But thanks for joining us on the 6th edition of LFP Live. Brian and Elliot, do you have anything else to say on the way out, Brian?
Enjoy your Sunday. Enjoy the game. Hopefully the Jets, come out with a better effort. And then when we come back on Tuesday here, we're talking about a win.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's it.
All right. Sammy Smokes, don't forget to season your meat. Hit that like and subscribe. Great show. Thank you very much.
Yes, as always, like and subscribe on your way out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you get notified every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. when we go live. We will see you guys on Tuesday. We'll be back for episode 79. And then Thursday for episode 80, the Pierre-Luc Dubois episode. That'll be fun.
Oh, God. The Nick Antropov episode.
Come on. Let's get out of here.
Oh, my bad. All right. Enjoy the game, everyone. Enjoy your Sunday. Thanks for joining us today. We will see you next Tuesday for episode 79. Have a great day, everyone.